So I've said there's this great theological imbalance where the kingdom of God, being one of, if not the most important biblical themes, gets some of the least attention. And yet, fascinatingly, the some of the few people who I do know who are talking about the kingdom frequently in modern Christian discourse are postmillennial theonomists. Now, if that phrase doesn't mean anything to you, don't worry about it right now. Well, you'll get the idea as we move along. But the main point is that these guys are the biggest proponents of Christian nationalism, whereas I'm arguing that there is a demonic power behind Christian nations, and it was never Jesus' intent that we be establishing Christian nations. These are the guys who would be at the theological forefront, advocating for Christian nations. How so? Well, in particular, there's four passages that I hear recurring come up over and over again, from the postmillennial vision of Christianization of the world, including Christian nations en masse. And three of those are specific kingdom passages. The fourth one is the Great Commission. That will have a few videos on that on itself later on. But the ones that are specifically kingdom oriented, one is in the Sermon on the Mount, when Jesus taught his disciples to pray, "Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven." And then the other two are two of the parables, Matthew 13 being the cluster of Jesus' parables. And remember, these parables are Jesus' parables are kingdom parables. So the mustard seed and the leaven, these two parables. Jesus put another parable before his disciples, saying, "The kingdom of heaven is like a grain of mustard seed that a man took and sowed in his field. It is the smallest of all seeds, but when it is grown, it is larger than all the garden plants and becomes a tree, so that the birds of the air come and make nests in its branches." He told them another parable. "The kingdom of heaven is like leaven that a woman took and hid in 3 measures of flour till it was all leavened." So from these passages, the postmillennial theonomist vision is that the church filling the whole world being Christianized, Christendom as a transformed society, Christian nations, all the nations of the world being Christianized and transformed at the societal level. Now, it's fascinating that I'm saying that kingdom is an unrepresented theological topic, and yet the people who are talking about it the most are, on this topic of Christian nations, my biggest theological rivals at the opposite end of the spectrum there. In one sense, it's surprising. In another sense, maybe not surprising. Oftentimes, rivals are, in some ways, closest to each other, right? The biggest political nations are political rivalries are often nations that are right next to each other are the most inclined to fight, or within a nation, the two political parties are bitterly fighting. They don't care what some other political parties far away are doing. The two political parties that are trying to get the same, the same legislative, the same governmental authority, and are going to be the biggest rivals. Or in sports, the biggest rivals are often closest. It's two sports teams in the same state or the same province. The sports team across the country is not usually your rival. It's the one. It's the one nearest by, right? And so the situation here is that the postmillennial theonomists and the just say Christian nationalists in general, what they and I have in common is a strong missiological thrust, a strong sense of the mission of the church. We happen to view that mission differently, but that's what we have in common, and that it's kingdom theology that really gives the church its mission. And so both of us are fueled by a strong kingdom of God theology, fueling a strong missiology, and a strong theoretical missiology and a strong drive to see that mission fulfilled. We disagree on the aspects of how that missiology is worked out, what the church's job is, and to where I would say that the Christian nation vision of the church's mission is not only misled, but is the greatest distraction from actually getting done what actually needs to get done. And so that's where the disagreement and the sharp diversion and disagreement comes in, is that both very much seeking to see the mission of the kingdom fulfilled. But if we have different ideas of what that mission is, then not only are you spending your energy in the wrong place, but in doing so, you're taking away and you're distracting from what actually is the mission. But we actually have even more in common than that. We'll do another video on commonalities.